I would like to take a moment to address something I heard before I asked the questions from the other side. They were talking about how much more difficult it is and how much more regulated the purchase of Sudafed is. I don't see anywhere in the Constitution where we're guaranteed the right to bear Sudafed, but we are guaranteed the right to bear arms. So I think that's an appropriate or an inappropriate distinction.
Congressman Blake Farenthold earlier today at the House Oversight Committee hearing on Operation Fast and Furious, and very pleased to have the congressman on the program tonight as well. Representative, thank you so much for joining us, sir.
It's good to be here, and I'm proud to bear arms and decongestant.
Well, we're glad you're not stuffed up, and you are exercising your right to bear arms. Now, listen, I got to tell you, the hearing today, I wish folks had the opportunity to have heard every second of it, because I know a lot of times people think, oh, these government hearings are snooze fests. Not today, not if you care about your rights, and not if you care about a government that is working for us and not against us.
Well, what was really surprising on both sides of the aisle, the level of frustration with the Department of Justice and what I can't think of another word other than cover-up relating to Fast and Furious.
Yeah, that's the word that we keep going back to. And, I mean, again, you hear the testimony of Bill Newell, the former special agent in charge of the Phoenix office, who really, even now, Congressman, can't actually bring himself to say, yes, guns were walked across the border.
Well, he evaded so many questions. I don't think I could have got out of him what he had for breakfast.
Which has to be frustrating. I mean, there you have, a guy who really has some answers, but he appears unwilling to give them. What is that like when you're on your side of the committee room?
It's not like this is that adversarial. We both work for the taxpayers, and we're on the same side.
Yeah.
But it sure didn't look like that way from the way they were dodging the questions. And what's really, really troubling to me is the disconnect between the ATF bureaucrats or political appointees in Washington and the agents in the field. One of the agents, and he is not the first agent who has told me that they are so embarrassed and humiliated by the way their brass has handled this that it's driven them to tears.
Yeah, in fact, was that Agent Canino who said that?
Yes, it was. Yes.
His testimony was really powerful. And time again, he just cut through the non-answers that we were getting from guys like Bill Newell and spelled it out very clearly. Nobody, he said, that he's ever known in law enforcement would have thought that this investigation was a good idea, would have thought that the tactics were appropriate. I mean, he just bashed this operation from planning to execution to the, as you say, the cover-up.
I can't think of anybody who's watched a cop show on television that would think it was good planning or good execution, and not communicate. There's a lot of talk about how the ATF field office in Washington never talked to anybody else. They didn't let their agents in Mexico know, and they knew these guns were destined to Mexico. They didn't let the Mexican government, which is, for the most part, a friendly government to us, know. But you certainly could have let our agents know.
Yeah. Yes. And to that end, learning this today, that even the ATF agents who were stationed in Mexico weren't told that this operation was taking place, and they sort of had to piece it together on their own as these guns started turning up. One of the other things I thought was interesting, and I believe, again, it was Agent Canino, who was the attaché to ATF there in Mexico. What was it, Agent Canino, who said that really there is no iron pipeline of guns? I mean, this wasn't it almost sounds, Representative, the more we know about this, that this was an operation designed to make reality match the rhetoric. The Obama administration talking about this iron pipeline of guns that apparently didn't exist. Well, let's use Fast and Furious to create it.
Well, that's certainly that's certainly a suspicion that I have. We haven't found any evidence to that effect yet, but It's certainly my suspicion. And you look at the regulations and actually proposed new laws where in the border states, if you purchased 2 or more weapons, the federally licensed firearm dealer has to turn you in. If my family gets invited out to a ranch and I need to buy them all a weapon, I'm suddenly in the same category as a narco-terrorist.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that while this has been announced for Texas and Arizona and California, New Mexico, at some point, some bureaucrat in ATF headquarters in D.C. is going to say, hey, you know what? Ardmore, Oklahoma sure is closer to the border than someplace in Northern California. I think we need to expand these reporting requirements to other states. In fact, maybe we can get all 50 of them involved here. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about, going back again, you say that we're still... You don't have that smoking gun piece of evidence as to why this was actually done, but the reasons given just don't add up. For instance, as they explained how this worked or how it was supposed to work, the straw purchase was observed, and then they would observe the transfer to the middleman, and then sometimes they'd actually observe the middleman go across the border into Mexico. But at no point, apparently, were there any... interrogations or arrests made of these straw purchasers to try to actually cut off the head of the snake, as we were told this operation was all about.
Or any cooperation with the Mexican government. You'd think our friendly neighbor, you'd pick up the phone and say, hey, we're tailing this guy who's about to illegally bring some weapons into your country. You might want to meet him when they cross the border.
Exactly. And how were they supposed to, again, in their words, cut off the head of the snake if they don't have jurisdiction to make arrests in Mexico, and the Mexican law enforcement has never been informed of this?
And, one of the comments that was made is, well, we were going to help the Mexican government identify who these drug kingpins are. I specifically asked the question of the agents on the ground in Mexico, does the Mexican government know who the drug kingpins are? And the answer to that question is, duh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a matter of knowing who they are. It's a matter of getting them.
That's right.
Golly. Representative, I got to really, when you got elected to Congress, did you ever think that, within a year you would be right in the thick of a scandal this big?
No, I didn't. I thought I was going to come up here and fix the country's financial crisis.
Well,
this is actually easier.
I was going to say, I don't know if I should apologize for the roadblock or the detour, or thank you for taking this detour, because, and the sad thing is, while America is very much preoccupied with the debt debate, this is a huge story. And I don't think we're anywhere near the end yet. In fact, I want to ask you, one of the exchanges with your colleagues, Representative Chaffetz to Bill Newell, brought up an email that was apparently sent by Mr. Newell to Kevin O'Reilly, who is a member of the National Security Council staff, head of North American Affairs, I believe, in which they were discussing, again, operations. Now, the White House says, well, this wasn't about Fast and Furious, but Bill Newell said that he'd talked with Kevin O'Reilly about Fast and Furious. So now we've got a link, it seems, to Fast and Furious and to the White House.
If I haven't been up here long enough to be so cynical that I would think that we would let Mexican citizens and American agents die in the name of politics. I pray to God that isn't true.
But you hear some of the quotes. I mean, I don't know if you saw the story on the front page of the Washington Post. If Fast and Furious finally made the front page of the Washington Post, but of course, the story contains quotes, anonymous sources who are saying how unfair it is that the House Oversight Committee is looking into Fast and Furious, how unfair it is that this investigation is being tarnished because, there have been some people who've been indicted. And that seems to be their excuse. I guess it's okay that there have also been people who've been killed as a result of Fast and Furious because they've got some indictments handed down.
Well, the straw purchaser indictments are a step in the right direction, but there's not a big penalty for that. What's more troubling to me is that our government would act so irresponsibly as to let these guns walk across the border. No law enforcement agent I have spoken to, and I've talked to everybody from the beat cop back home in Corpus Christi to ATF agents, and not one of them thinks letting the guns walk across the border into Mexico was sound law enforcement.
What was the most surprising thing that you heard today?
I'm surprised by the whole thing, but really what I'm most surprised about is the outrage on both sides of the political aisle about how this is playing out. You've got obviously some on the other side that see this as an opportunity to increase gun regulation in this country, but very, very few of the people who the Democrats that questioned weren't outraged that this would happen. Now, where we go from there, obviously, we're going to differ, but I think there's bipartisan agreement that this was this criminal stupidity at best.
Yeah, we did actually hear some decent questioning from some of the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. I'm sorry to say that my Congressman Jerry Connolly wasn't among those asking the questions. He was among those pushing for more gun control, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. As long as we've got folks like yourself and Representative Issa and Representative Gozer and Representative Gowdy and Representative Chaffetz and Representative Meehan and all of the others who are actually asking these questions, I think ultimately we will get some answers despite the stonewalling that we heard today.
I'll tell you, I'm really enjoying working on the Government Oversight and Reform Committee. In my past life, I was a lawyer and a talk radio show host. So getting to the bottom of things is something I've been doing for a long time, and being a watchdog over the federal government is very rewarding.
Well, Congressman, again, we really appreciate you coming on the program and look forward to doing this again very soon.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir. Representative Blake Farenthold joining us from the great state of Texas.